Toss to White. He's in! Patriots win the Super Bowl!
Welcome to Patriots Touchback Podcast.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome on to the Patriots Touchback Podcast, Season 3, Episode 58. Free agency is legitimately now only a couple of days away, and we have got a bit of a big show for you tonight on a Saturday night, which is a rather unusual time for all four of us to be on, but we are here nonetheless. We've got lots to talk about. Kieran is on, Nick is on, and DJ is on with us tonight. So please make sure you smash the like button, you gronk spike the subscribe button, you tell all your friends that you follow us on social media platforms, and you make sure you follow the podcast on Spotify and on Apple as well. Just before we get on into introductions, we'd like to say a big thank you to everyone that has viewed our emergency Stefan Diggs show that we did on Wednesday night. The amount that we've seen has been absolutely incredible. So thank you so much. If you haven't gone already, go click on our latest video and you'll find it. For now, let's crack on with it. Kieran, Nick, DJ, good evening, gentlemen, on this wonderful Saturday night. How are we doing?
All good.
Better than I was 2 minutes ago.
The Man City just scored by any chance, Nick?
Yeah, 2-1 up. Let's go.
Oh, there we go. There we go. So he's happy. I'm happy. I think everyone's all happy on a Saturday night. Okay, gentlemen. Free agency. Second year now for Mike Vrabel. It's not going to be as big, and we're not going to blow a load of more money than we did last year to this year. But we still have some notable holes on our roster, which is still to be addressed, still to be rectified. We're going to go for each position one by one, starting on the offensive side of the ball. It's going to be. I'm intrigued now because obviously we're going to first touch up with obviously the Stefan Diggs situation. Nick, I'm going to throw this to you, okay? Because obviously Kieran and I did the stream, and we'll get to DJ as well. What was your first reaction to Diggs being cut?
I kind of felt it was going to be coming, to be honest, given that he had this payment due next week. He's got the legal situation hanging over him, which won't solve itself for another 4 weeks. So argument said there's nothing to say that the Patriots can't cut him, let him sort his legal situation out, and then re-sign him if they really wanted to. But I just figured it made sense, and there was too much at risk to hold on to him. And the other thing being that what you'd be paying him next year for what he is, which is basically these days a number 2 receiver, you'd be paying him number 1 money against your cap. And yet you'd be but the guy had 1,000-yard season. So, it's not like he didn't work out. He did. But I just think the writing was on the wall, really. So it didn't surprise me that he got cut. I think it's probably the best decision.
DJ, your thoughts?
Yeah, I back that. I think it's a very Patriots thing to do. We've done it multiple times in the past where we've had legal issues in the future or whatever they got to go through. But I think a conversation must have been said prior to all this. If he did try to restructure and he'd obviously declined it, whatever the case may be, then I think it was for us to say, right, you go and do your thing. We're obviously going to crack on with our thing. If things pan out to be like you're proven non-guilty and he's cleared of all those charges, then like I said, like Nick just said, there could be a chance that he does come back on a more friendly deal. That might be the thing. I think I touched on it on our last pod as well. Would he be able to give us another 1,000-yard season? I personally do not think he will, but that's not to say that he's not a valuable member of that wide receiver core that we had. And I think he was a good veteran to have in the locker room. But the right thing, given the money that we had to pay out, I think it was the right thing to do moving forward.
Yeah, I think we kind of echo on the same sentiment. Look, if Diggs does get cleared of all these charges, yeah, I can see him return. The problem is, though, is that if we are hunting after a certain alpha male also on another team, is that going to be a conflict of interest? And what I mean by that is talking about AJ Brown, because there's a lot of folk going around.
What I see of that situation, I think the Eagles are asking a little bit too much on what we're willing to pay, to be honest. And I personally would not give up a first and a third for him. I'd rather keep that capital that we have, invest in. Sorry?
I don't think he's worth a first and a third.
I don't either.
He's 29 years of age. He's about to turn 30.
Not given with his injuries as well. I personally wouldn't. I would keep the first and the third, invest it in rookies, use that capital to maybe move up. If you want to get your third and move up to the second to grab someone else, I'd be willing to do that.
I would much rather. I would much rather. I'd much rather we took like a receiver like Chris Bradwell at 31. I know that will grind Nick's gears, but that's that makes more sense because at least he's on a rookie contract, and we get to see if he pans out.
Yeah, or you give what's his name? The rookie from last year, Williams.
Kyle Williams.
Yeah. You give him an opportunity to move into that position. So
he'll get expanded playbook.
If Vrabel is all over that lad to making a second year transition, then that's the chance that we're going to obviously then need to take with Booty, Holland. I would probably still keep Holland. And yeah, Pop is another one that you could probably, if he's willing to stay on a friendly deal or do something. Look, I'm not gonna say no to that, but his obviously he needs to progress a bit more than what he did last year. But we'll dive into that.
Pop, I think, is on the outside looking in. He's on the outside looking in currently right now. Okay, gentlemen, free agency. We got a lot of holes still to fill in this roster. Years and years of neglect, and even though we had a very good free agency last year and a very, very good draft last year, we still need more. I'm going to start.
Sorry, can I just buy into how much cap room do we officially have? Because
61 million. Apparently.
Is it that much? I thought it was in the round
because
40s.
Because if we cut Diggs, if we cut Bradbury, or rather traded Bradbury, rather.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because it was 43.
It was 43, so it's now 61 million that we got. So there's a lot more than what we currently have. So we are going to be spending some money. I think we're loading up the Brinks trap for Alec Pierce. We're not going to get into the receiver just yet. What I want to do is I want to go to our offensive line was everyone know in the Super Bowl it was absolutely flipping woeful. So what we're going to do, we're going to start off at the guard position because I think that is priority number one, I would say in free agency. I know the edge classes. I know the edge is a big factor, but for now, let's go into the guards and so on. So you look at the likes of Joel Bitonio. You look at Mekhi Becton, Kevin Zeitler, Isaac Samula, Alex Kepper, beg your pardon, Elijah Vera Tucker, Zion Johnson. I would say Trevor Penning, but he's shit. Not gonna lie. David Edwards as well. Liam Eichenberg as well. Wasn't that a name that popped up on one of your draft boards, Nick? Was it 2 years ago?
Who was that? Sorry,
Liam Eichenberg. Liam Eichenberg, your former guard out of he was for your Fighting Irish, wasn't he?
Yeah, I think he was on my board 3 years ago but he wasn't high up on my board. He was one of the lower ones.
Mm.
I mean, the thing with guard, and I know Kieran will share this opinion. It moves on to the center position as well. We've just traded Bradbury to the Bears. Now he played every snap this season just gone. So that's a big piece to miss. But the fact that you've got Ben Brown signed on a 2-year deal for $6 million, I think he signed just before season end. You've got Jared Wilson, who is a center. He played at left guard this last year to cover a problem because he was the best of what we had left. He needs to move inside and play centre now. That means you've got a
Is
I
he
can't
good
call
enough?
him a rookie now. Yeah, I think Gerard Wilson is good enough to play centre, but you need that experienced left guard between Campbell and Wilson, and that means there's experience between those two. Wilson has experience either side of him with Big Mike on the other side. But so the problem with David Edwards, who's at Buffalo, is based on his market value. I think to spend 20 million on a guard is ridiculous. Not doing that. I would say somewhere around, say, Mekhi Becton, who's supposedly
I
after
said him.
13.
Yeah.
I get, but I think Mekhi Becton, I think, is just so injury prone. He's just so injury prone. And I know he played on the Eagles, and I know he was on the Eagles roster when they won the Super Bowl against the Chiefs, but come on, he was literally the runt of the litter in that.
He has looked bad everywhere apart from on that Philly offensive line. When he was with the Jets, you remember he was drafted as a left tackle.
Was he a first rounder as well?
Yeah, he was. Yeah,
yes, he was a first rounder.
First round left tackle with the Jets. Had injuries, struggled with performance, ended up going to the Eagles. Played right guard, which he's a bit too tall to be a right guard. You know, he's built like a tackle. And he looked reasonably solid on that Eagles line, but you're surrounded by elite players on that Eagles line, and you're coached by arguably one of the best offensive line coaches of the generation in Jeff Stoutland, and then he goes to the Chargers and just looks completely hopeless. So, I mean, look, his age gives him upside, but I would probably look elsewhere. I think there are plenty of serviceable options on that list. Like, my eyes go straight away to Isaac Soimalo, who is just like someone who's just been a mark of consistency throughout his time when he's been with the Eagles, when he's been with the Steelers. He's just a consistent performer at 32 years old, solid, never puts a foot wrong. Like, if you can sign him to a 2-year deal, like, I think that completely plugs that gap. Like Joel Bitonio as well, I think would be really solid.
He's old though.
Yeah, but you're probably only getting 1 year out of Joel Bitonio. Yeah. You probably get 2 out of Soimalo.
What about Vera Tucker? He's an interesting one.
Vera Tucker gives you like the most long-term upside because like of his age and the fact that he was a first-round pick, and when he's played, he's looked good, but he's struggled so badly to stay healthy. He's missed a lot of games over the last few years. So I think
Kappa, he's Brady. Center, is he?
Kappa, Kappa. Yeah, he's bounced around a few teams. He's obviously got a bit of experience. You've got Tevin Jenkins who can do a job. John Simpson. Like, there's plenty of options. But looking at the list now, like, for me, the standout one is Isaac Soimalo. I think that would be a perfect fit in terms of his profile, the right age. You'd slot him in between 2 young guys. I think he'd be able to help both Campbell and Wilson. He's played on good offensive lines in the past on good teams. It just seems like the most logical fit. And his market value of $9.6 million, it said Mollion then, $9.6 million a year. I feel like, you know, as Nick said, you don't want to really be paying someone like David Edwards like $20 million a year. But if you can get Isaac Soimalo for, you know, around $10 million a year, I think you've done pretty well. So, yeah, that would be who I would look at. I also think, although you've got Ben Brown as an interior backup, we probably need to look at this position in the draft as well. Like, you know, to draft a guard in maybe the 4th round, you know, just for a bit of depth, see what you have in them. You can find serviceable guards.
DJ Campbell, Bo Stevens, Jeremiah Wright, they're all guards that I'm in and around that area.
He probably goes a bit higher than that, but I quite like Rutledge from Georgia Tech, Nick.
He's going second. He's going second round. He's a
high end. He's a high end guard.
Yeah,
I had him in about the 3rd, but he's probably gone by day 2. Yeah, but he's someone I do like.
He had a good combine. The thing with me on the other side of center at right guard, which is Big Mike, is that we need to restructure that guy's deal because at the moment, or this coming season, we're going to be paying him 17 million against the cap. That's all pro. Yeah, that's all pro level. He is not an all pro. He is not giving us an all pro level performance. I'm not saying he's not a good guard. He is, but if he's going to stay, he needs to restructure that because he's costing us too much money.
What happened to Will Hernandez, by the way? I'm pretty sure he was a top tier
injuries.
Guard.
I think
in college, and then he got released, or.
Yeah, I think he was Giants in Arizona. Just struggled mightily with injuries. I think he's on this list, as you can see there in sort of the middle range.
Yeah.
I think Nick makes a good point about Onwenu. I think because he signed a new deal a couple of seasons ago. He's probably more of like an extension candidate rather than a restructure. Like you could probably sign him to a longer term deal. Like he's still only 28, so you can still sign him to a 3-4 year extension and spread that money out. So I think that's something they might look at. And obviously that would then free up more cap space as well. So I think he's a prime candidate for that. It's guard's one of those positions where you want to put in a quality, experienced, or maybe not even quality, but an above average.
I think Teller seems shouting out to me there at that value as well.
From Cleveland.
Yeah.
Teller's good.
31. What value is going to be about 10, 11.
I think he's primarily played as a right guard. I mean, I don't know whether he can switch over to the left, but there are more than enough options on this list that would come in and do a job for a year or two. And if, as Nick said, I mentioned a few guys who could be mid-round picks. If one of those guys you feel good about in a couple of years' time, they could potentially take over. Or if not, you look at the situation again. But I think if you plug a Batonio, a Teller, Soimalo, John Simpson, Vera Tucker, Kevin Jenkins in there, I think you get by easily. So Soimalo is the one I want, but I would be happy with quite a few names on this list. And we're blessed with although we've got a glaring need at left guard, we're lucky that there's quite a few options staring us in the face here.
Yeah, agreed. I think I also like Kevin Zeitler as well. He was a former guard for the Lions. He was on the Titans obviously this year. Even though he's turning 36. Oh Jesus, it's a bit old.
We've got Caden Wallace as well. He's on our roster as a swing guard as well.
I don't know whether he's going to stay, just because you look at the amount of times he was in last season. I feel like he's probably going to get cut in this camp.
I think based on the fact that he's not costing a lot, it makes sense to keep him if you can afford, if you've got a roster spot that needs filling for a swing guard, you're not paying him very much money, so it's worth keeping. Carl, what I think we need to get your opinion on is moving out from guard to left tackle. Is how are we going to cope with Adrian Lowe, and what
I can keep him there? I'll resign that bitch.
I'm really concerned for you, and I don't want you to lose.
I'll put that motherfucker right tackle. I'll put him at right tackle.
Well,
right guard.
I wanted to get your opinion on Lowe.
There you go. There's your answer.
I feel like this is a perfect segue, right? Because we've gone over to a tackle, and there was a name that was mentioned a couple of days ago that has already visited us in the last few days, which is Jedrick Wills. Obviously, former 10th overall pick out of Alabama, played left tackle for the Browns for 3 or 4 years. He was a right tackle at Alabama and even has the right size profile to play guard. So he sat out the entirety of last season because he had a lingering problem with his knee, and he took the year off to get fit, to get healthy. And he was on my list of free agent signings when we did this podcast this time last year. So if you can get Jedrick Wills on a team-friendly deal, he potentially profiles as your backup swing tackle. He could play inside for you at guard, and he potentially could be the heir apparent to Morgan Moses as well at right tackle, because that was his college position. And when he went into the NFL, he was flipped over to left tackle for the Browns. So I think signing Wills would be really smart. He's still only 26. He's got a lot of upside still. And if he can potentially help you in 3 positions, I think that's an absolute no-brainer.
I think we favoured a lot of plays last year, and I can't be wrong or not, but I thought Mumford played a big part in the end. When we went those jumbo packages, he was the one that would come in and give that extra leverage on the O-line. I don't know what position he is. Is he a
right
swing tackle, or is he a right tackle? I don't know. So I don't know if he's guard, but he's only 26 years old from Ohio State. I mean, something that you'll probably want to start to use.
You keep hold of him, but you've also got to remember as well, we didn't have Brock Lampy last year either. If we get a full off season in with him,
is that fullback?
He's a fullback. Yeah. He was meant to be the actual fullback. A Westover was more like a third, fourth string tight end trying to act like fullback, but you know.
Yeah.
I think Lampy could take the job from Westover pretty easily this offseason. You know, he was one of the better fullbacks in college. He came into the season. You think about those early days of camp and the OTAs and stuff. He was running as the starting fullback with the first team offense. I think he was definitely the first choice. So I think, he could definitely be that.
Look how fucking cheap Lowe is. Go down. Look how cheap that bitch is. Fucking sign him, yo. Not even a mil. It won't even cost you a milli.
What? Just under 1.5 million.
Sign him for a milli, yo. Deal.
I'd be open to Munford staying because he's got some upside. He started games at right tackle for the Raiders, and he looked all right when he came in at times last year. But I would cut bait with Lowe. I think you can get better options.
Wow.
The left tackle class doesn't look that great, if I'm honest with you. I mean, the names.
But that's the problem. That's the problem. Elite. There are 3 positions where elite players do not hit free agency: wide receiver, left tackle, edge defender. They are the 3 positions that the elite players do not pick up.
Why do we need to look at left tackle?
Because they either get tagged or they get re-signed. If you need an elite player in those positions, it has to be the draft.
Mm-hmm.
Only players that make it to free agency are ones that are either ludicrously expensive or injury prone beyond doubt. And so, I think really that's the reason why you've got to look at those 3 positions in the draft as priority.
Yeah, and I think if just speaking about these offensive line positions, if you come away with one of those veteran guards and you sign a tackle like Jedrick Wills, who's still young enough that he gives you upside and could be used in a different load of ways, you feel really good about your offensive line heading into the draft. And then all you need to do is draft for depth. You don't need to draft to get a starter. So I think we have a real opportunity next week to fill those needs and not have to be too concerned about it heading into the draft, where we can look at wide receiver, edge defender, safety, linebacker, whatever you want to do in that area.
It's like we said, Kieran. It's like we said, if you've got cover and you're set, yes, Moses is going to be done in a year's time.
Yeah,
that's why you can maybe wait till round 4 and maybe sign someone like Isaiah World, who's going to be out for a year through injury.
But I think Bryant is probably going to jump the chance there at Moses. I personally would put Bryant if he's developed well. I don't see the progress, but
we barely saw Bryant play all season because Morgan Moses was just on lockdown.
We drafted him high last year, didn't we?
No, he was a
7th round pick.
7th rounder.
Was it? I thought he was higher than that.
No, he was a 7th rounder.
At the start of the season, he was almost the top. He was almost the top swing tackle option, and then by the end of the year, he was inactive pretty much every game. And Munford was the primary, guy that was coming in those jumbo formations and playing in at right tackle and stuff like that. So I I think as the season went along, they probably become less and less, confident with Brian. I don't think you can really bank on that. He might just be someone you could stick on your practice squad if you don't want to totally give up on him yet. But yeah, like that, you've got to be aiming a bit higher, I think. So we'll see.
Yeah, look, I would. You could potentially take a backup in this. I think there's no one out there. If it's Jedrick Wilson, cool, but then he's fighting for a place with Will Campbell. That's the only thing that's concerning me, because if he does, let's just say he does lose out on the job and Will Campbell gets it, there's a good chance he might get cut. Is Jedrick Willis is Jedrick Willis really going to sit on the bench behind Will Campbell? I very much doubt it.
Yeah, he's in a bit. I'm trying to mute it, but for some reason it won't bloody go off.
I think Wills is in the Munich fund.
Wills is in a difficult situation because obviously he is coming off a year out, and like he's probably not going to go in anywhere and start straight away unless some team has an absolute glaring need. And he's one of those players, as we said, he played right tackle in college. He's got NFL exposure at left tackle and could even play guard. So you can deploy him in so many different ways that, he might even end up being our starting left guard. Like he could potentially be the future right tackle. I don't know if he's going to be a player that's going to go in somewhere straight away and start. For God's sake, these people are annoying me now. Sorry to everyone. I can't turn this. But yeah, he's someone I would definitely look at.
Okay, right. One position I'm gonna move next to.
Titan.
I know it's also something we usually go for, but I want to look at the center, and the only reason being why. I'll be very, very surprised if Tyler Linderbaum is not got back by the Ravens, because that is someone I would go after. His ability to just create space in the running game is second to none.
His market value is high.
Yes, 17.7 million. It is a little steep. But
again, I don't know what if he was to go for him. What is Wilson? Is Wilson capable enough to be center starter?
We don't know yet. We haven't seen him play. We haven't seen him play.
Well, I know, but you need to make a decision if we're going to have a chance of getting this guy, or if we're. I don't think we're going to have the cap for him, to be honest. I don't.
Kieran, you had something to say?
Yeah, I don't even think we need to spend that much time on center. We're not going to sign Tyler Linderbaum. He's going to get a contract which is going to be arguably the highest paid center of all time. Yeah. So many teams are going to throw the absolute farm at him, and it's clear that we've traded Garrett Bradbury with the intention of having Jared Wilson at center, and you've got Ben Brown as your center backup. I don't even think it's a position we'll add, even if it's a backup position or through the draft. I just don't see it happening. We just don't have a need for it. So yeah, we can dream. I mean, look, everyone would love Tyler Linderbaum, but it just isn't going to happen.
Apart from that, there's no other center on there that's worth.
Cade Mays is half decent, but I think he'll go back to Carolina.
Yeah, with Graham Glasgow as well, but he's 30. He's 33.
Cushenberry has some upside, but it's just not a position we need to really go mad on.
Nick, he was going to say something.
No, I was just going to say I have a lot of faith in Wilson, and I think the only reason you trade Bradbury, who, as I said, played every snap, I think the only reason you trade, because his cap number wasn't terrible, the only reason you trade him is because you have faith in Wilson. So I think the fact that you've got Wilson, the fact that you've got Brown to back him up, I think center is a position that there's no point in talking about, because I don't think anything's going to happen. It's Wilson, it's Brown backing him up. Job done.
Okay, well, let's go to a position I think we are addressing. Receiver. A list of names on there as far as the eye can see. We're just going to go straight to the top. There is a crap load. The name that's been sprung out for us is none other than Alec Pierce. Where is his name? There he is.
But look, I'm gonna put something out here. Pierce is gonna get paid mega, and I don't think it's something that we're willing to throw money at. Now, the only upside I've got is that I've seen I don't know if it's a video or a tweet or something. Vrabel is mates with his old coach, is it? Or with his
So like, Luke Fickell
is
Vrabel's best mate, who was the head coach of Cincinnati when Alec Pierce was in college.
That's the only thing that I've got going for him. But other than if he's going to go for money, I personally can't see us paying. What is it? 20 mil.
20.2, but that's the average. That's the base.
That's average, yeah. He's going to get more than that. But
I mean, there's going to be a few teams in on him. We spoke about this the other night. Like, I think some of the contract numbers have been a bit overblown, but he's a player that has like barely scratched the surface, really. When you think about the situation he's been in Indianapolis, where he's played with a whole load of different quarterbacks. You know, he's been kind of like the field stretcher. He's not necessarily had a high volume of targets, but what he has done is make the most of that. I mean, last season he had 1,000 yards on just 47 receptions, and his average like yards per reception is over 20. So he's someone that can legitimately stretch the field and give you a downfield option. And I think he's only going to get better with more volume. And you put him with Drake May, who's one of the best deep ball throwers in the NFL, like he's going to be great. I think like I'd rather
smoke.
I'd rather just throw money at Alec Pierce as a free agent at 26 years old and not have to give up any draft capital than you have to give up whatever it is for AJ Brown at 28, and you're having to pay him maybe more than what Alec Pierce is going to get as a free agent. You kind of that's a double-edged sword, because you're losing the capital and the finance on AJ Brown. But like with Alec Pierce, you can just sign him as a free agent. He gives you more longevity on a 4-year contract or whatever, and you're not having to pay as much for him. So I would offer him. And if he says no, he says no. But I'd imagine that from all the reports we're seeing from like Jordan Schultz and very well-connected insiders, is that we are very interested and we are going to be very, very heavily involved in trying to get him.
Who else is involved?
Let's say you didn't get him, right? Second option, I'd be looking at Rashid Shaheed.
You just read my mind, Nick.
I know, because I'm good like that. I read Kieran's mind earlier in the week, and I nailed him twice. So I'm good like that.
I need to get the X-Files soundtrack in the background for this bit.
It doesn't improve us. I think I'd rather go with someone else.
It does, because Alec Pierce is your deep threat, but Rashid Shaheed is not only can be a very good deep threat, we know that, but he's also an amazing kickoff returner. And now we lost, and now we released Antonio Gibson. Where you don't have that burst of pace at the kickoff return. Kill two birds with one stone. Go get Rashid Shaheed if Alec Pierce falls through.
I think Shaheed's a bit of a one-trick pony, to be honest.
I'll ride him.
I wouldn't necessarily complain if we signed him, but I think he's going to get more money than what he's worth, because he's basically just a speed guy, and that is it. Like you look at some of the names on this list, like Wan'Dale Robinson's a fantastic player, but like I said on the show the other night, if you're replacing Pop Douglas with him, you've got one small guy out and another small guy in.
He's asking for mega money as well.
He's asking for it because he had over 1,000 yards receiving. The only reason being why he got that was because of Malik Neighbors. He went down with he tore his ACL, didn't he?
He's been a consistent performer for the Giants, but like he's limited because when you're a 5'8" slot receiver, you've kind of got very few strings to your bow. Like he's a good player, but we already have a player who fits his profile, and we both think that Douglas is going to go. So like why would you then sign Wan'Dale Robinson to replace him? I don't think that makes any sense for the money that is anyway. I've seen a lot of people talking about Romeo Doubs, but like for me,
I saw that.
He's good. Like I think he's a good player, and some team's going to give him a solid contract, but he's too similar stylistically to Keishon Boutte. I don't think he's
a poor man's Boutte.
They're very similar. They're both like physical possession receivers that can make plays in like in contested catch situations. Like they're not burners. They're not going to blaze you down the field. Like I just don't know what we would gain from signing Romeo Doubs when we already have a player who's almost a carbon copy of him and is 3 years younger. So
there are two players we could consider: Kendrick Bourne and Tyquan Thornton.
Oh, let's not
legends.
No, thank you. No, thank you.
They're both on the list.
I tell you what, there is a name I will throw out there: Jalen Naylor.
Nah.
No.
I'd go Mike Evans and then draft another one. If we can't get Pierce, that's mine.
Let's have a look at Mike Evans.
I think Jawan Jennings would be solid, but not at that money. I said the other night, Carl, like if we're gonna sign an Alec Pierce, then you need a prototypical slot type that's bigger than Pop Douglas to play the Diggs role. I brought up someone like Omar Cooper Jr. might be a good fit to do that, but like Jawan Jennings is ideal because he's a big slot, but at 29 and the amount of money somebody's going to give him, like I don't think I'd be in favor of that. Like if you could tell me we could get him on a cheap deal, I'd be all over it. But he's expected to get his market value according to this website is over 22.5 million a year. I would not want to pay that, especially if you're throwing 20 plus at Pierce. So I am in the boat of you go for Alec Pierce, you throw a boatload of cash at him, and then you try and draft a slot specialist on day 2 of the draft, or maybe at 31, someone like a Cooper Jr. I think would be
or Casey or Casey Concepcion,
or if you get lucky, Casey Concepcion. Yeah.
I'm just trying to think of other names on here. I've always had a soft spot for Jawan Jennings. I thought he did really, really well in San Fran, and maybe that's just Kyle Shanahan scheming, because he could scheme any receiver. He can freaking scheme a dustbin open.
You also need to consider if we're going to splash out on wide receiver. I really do not think tight end we're going to be able to afford. Like Likely, is that his name? The one from Ravens.
Isaiah Likely, yeah.
Isaiah Likely. Here we go. So this
I
is why
we can get Pierce and a Likely. I think that's asking a bit too much.
So let's have a look then. So Isaiah Likely, where are you?
8.8 million. Carl, if you go to the top of the if you go right to the top of the list, right, and click on market value, you can list it by their projected value.
Yeah.
There you go.
Oh, great.
Sorry.
So I've got a brain so smooth you can eat cheese off of it tonight.
See, I said Otton. I said that on the group chat. I think
Otton would be a great fit as a tight end too.
He's a fucking mini Gronk, he is.
I think the thing with tight end is you've got
in the draft is fucking unless you want a blocker.
Yeah, but a lot of tight ends in the draft are receiving tight ends. So if you are looking at a tight end, you've got Hooper, you've got if you're going to get the other one, Hunter. You've got Hunter Henry. You can pick up a receiving tight end later on in the draft because it's a deep position, But I think if you're going to pick up a tight end in free agency, it has to be a blocking tight end.
So what about Charlie Kolar?
He's as good as Dan Full Stop.
Who the fuck is Charlie Kolar, bro?
He's from Ravens. It was like the third. He's a big tight end. He's a bruiser. Let's have a look at the other board. So look at it. Yeah, Jono Smith is now on like Dallas Goedert. I've always liked Dallas Goedert, but 31, 7.5.
I think he's going to go somewhere where he's the clear tight end one, isn't he? Like he's going to get a decent contract. I mean,
Well,
that group underneath David Njoku of like, I mean, Nick said about a blocker, and he's right because there are very little blocking tight ends in this draft, as we've said. You know, the only one that would be of interest to me at any stage would be Sam Roosh from Stanford. You're looking at, you know, 3rd, 4th round for him, but like likely Okonkwo, Cade Otton. I think if any of those three end up with us, I think we've done well. Like I all think they could come in and be role players. So Okonkwo obviously would have been drafted by Vrabel, so that's an interesting one, and he's a big old boy. Cade Otton, you know, gives you a decent in-line option. I think that would be really solid if you could get him. And likely he's obviously very different to the other two, but if you come away with one of those three, I think that's really solid. The other one would be if you want someone who's more of a blocker, Dan Bellinger from the Giants as well. I think could fill that void.
Wow, 2.5 million, and he's only 25.
Like, he's more, obviously he played less when Theo Johnson came in, but like he is more of your kind of traditional inline tight end. So that there's a few decent options on this list. Like we don't need to go for Njoku, for Goddard, for Jonnu Smith, who are probably all going to get good deals, but there's plenty of like solid tight end twos on this list. And then you just go and get the 3rd string in the draft. It's quite simple, really.
What about Noah Fant? Is he the one that used to be in Seattle?
But you don't get any blocking out of him. He's just a big receiver.
He's just a glorified receiver.
And that's the point. If you really want to prioritize the blocking side of the tight end position.
Oh, yeah. I know he's had injury history. But when he was with Miami, Darren Waller was actually, when he was fit.
He's done. He should have just stayed retired.
Oh, yeah, he's 33.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. Like Nick said about prioritizing the blocking. You either go one of two ways. You either pick up a tight end in free agency who can give you an element of blocking, and then you draft a pass catching tight end, or you flip that and you get an Isaiah Likely, but then you have to prioritize getting one of the blocking tight ends in college, like a Roosh, in like the 4th round. So we've got to get one of each. Whichever way they want to do it is up to them. But one of each has got to come in. We can't go another season with like CJ Dipree like being the 3rd tight end, but then being inactive every game, and Jack Westover like ended up going to become a fullback. So we need to have more consistency at the tight end position.
Yeah.
Before we move on to defense, the situation with Tommy Cutlets DeVito, obviously he just signed a new 2-year contract. What are you guys thinking with that? Because that screams to me that Josh Dobbs is potentially on the chopping block. We could save $3.7 million against the salary cap by releasing Josh Dobbs at any point, whether that's post or pre.
How much dead money is there though?
Dead money is only where are we? I've just lost him. Dead money is only $1 million.
So you're giving up $1 million to get 3 back.
To get 3.7 back, yeah. So
yeah, I think it's very interesting that DeVito got the new deal before
Dobbs,
before the window
Spaceman
got open. So I kind of agree with you, Kieran. I think there's a late QB coming. You know, a 7th.
All the QBs in this fucking thing is shit, aren't they? They don't.
Yeah, but if you're looking for a rookie 3rd stringer, you can take a gamble on someone at the back end of the draft.
I haven't even checked.
Nick will know a bit more. I've done a few guys at the back end. The one that sticks out to me as someone you could probably get like middle to late day 3 is Cade Klubnik from Clemson. I think in terms of like just athletic profile, I think that would potentially work.
He's number 5 for me. I think he's gonna go in like round 4 or 5. I'm thinking right at the end of the draft, like a 7th rounder or even an undrafted. I think you're looking at maybe someone like Tulane. For me, Tulane's Jake Rusloff would be a really good pick because he is absolutely fantastic with his legs and he can throw a massive gun down the field like I have not seen in a long time. Now, ask him to throw 6 yards, and you're asking a little much. If you ask him to throw 40 yards downfield, he will do it, and he will hit his target every time at 40 yards and over. But you ask him to throw less than 10 yards, and he's likely to throw it to the offensive.
Quarterbacks make their money by throwing in the short to intermediate throws. No one gives a crap about the big bombs are just highlight reels.
He's fantastic with his legs, though, and I think if you've got someone like DeVito who can cover in the throw-in actions and be the number 2, you can afford that third QB to be a specialist. And I'm not saying it should be Jake Razloff. I'm just using him as an example in that he has got legs and speed to burn that, you could probably put him at, say, fullback and play a trick. You know what Josh is like with trick plays. Bring on Jake Razloff at fullback, and before you realise it, he's broken through and he's halfway down the field. So, I think there are options, especially right at the end in the 7th round, or maybe even undrafted. There are a lot of QBs that are.
What about that Penn State guy? Where do you think he's going?
Allen's going a lot higher than that, I think. I think he's going to go in the 3rd round. Yeah.
I think
he's not the greatest quarterback either.
I tell you, Nick. I mean, he's not going to be for everyone, but you would know as much as I do. Mike Vrabel would absolutely love Diego Pavia, like just from the character.
No, I'm not having this. I'm not having this. See you later. I ain't having it. I can guarantee you that Diego Pavia is going undrafted. His attitude absolutely fucking stinks. I'm sorry.
I don't have any concerns about the attitude. He's a high character guy, like a real big leader. I think Mike Vrabel would love him.
He was a right prick at the Heisman Trophy ceremony.
He's got an edge to him. He's kind of like what Baker Mayfield was in college in terms of like the swagger
without the talent. Without the
talent. You're talking about a 3rd string quarterback here. Like you don't need to go and get like Baker was the number 1 overall pick. Like if you're getting a 3rd stringer, someone who fits the culture, I think Vrabel would love Pavia. But yeah, there's options. Taylor Green, another one after his combine. Like if you want,
if Taylor Green goes anywhere, he'll go undrafted. They'll pick him up and they'll turn him into a receiver. Have you seen his combine? Have you seen his measurements?
I would turn him into a receiver.
I would turn him.
But that happened to that lad Cunningham, and it didn't work out. Remember that?
I would turn him into the new Drake London.
I think really what you're talking about is you're talking about players like Luke Altmaier, Sawyer Robinson, the Georgia Tech guy that can't throw but can run, King, Joey Aguilar's now in the draft because he hasn't got his extra year at Tennessee, so he's an option. But these are the if you're going to take a third line QB, you are talking a 7th rounder or an undrafted. I am not wasting higher than that on a 3rd round. But I do agree with Kieran. Back to point, I think yes, chances are Dobbs is probably going to get cut.
So who else was on the market if he was?
I mean, it doesn't make much sense to sign another free agent veteran quarterback.
Oh, I'm not signing a free agent QB.
Yeah, if you're cutting Dobbs, it's so that you're drafting a 3rd stringer because DeVito's obviously just got a new deal, and you're not going to want 3 contracts on the books and then potentially a rookie as well. So I don't think that makes any sense. You either keep it as it is now and don't draft anyone, or you
like a Sam Howell for $1 million.
If Sam Howell comes in, it's at the personal request of Drake May because it's his best mate. So,
but his draft thingamajig is only $1 million. Well, is $1 million.
What about Tyler Huntley?
When Dobbs was 3. Fuck. Who?
What about Tyler Huntley?
The fuck is that?
No, thank you.
Is he the?
Nah. DJ said it. No, you're
Snoopy. Is that Snoop
Snoopy.
Dogg?
It's Snoop Huntley. It's Snoop Huntley.
Fuck that guy, yo.
Right. Okay. Right. Let's move into a position we desperately are going to need. Edge.
Yep.
Let's go.
Yeah, here we go.
And look who is. Here we go. Look who's at the top.
Yeah.
Trey Hendrickson. Adafio Owe, who is very good for the Chargers. Khalil Mack is available for 18 million. Quitty Pay 17. Jalen Phillips 17.
I'm not touching any of these. They're too expensive. I'd sign Chase on again. I'd try and re-sign him anyway.
Yeah, me too. I think
8.9.
I have a funny feeling he's going to want to test the market, but that's my feel.
Yeah, I mean he has the right to test the market. He can still come back. You know, it's
Yeah, he's rumoured to be looking for about 11, 12 million.
I don't think that's bad.
No, I still pay that.
I would be like, if he wants about 12 million, I would quite happily sign him and Boye Mafe around the same amount of money.
Which is the value at.
I think we can, you know, you're looking at the edge position there, you know, the ones that are available. I actually don't think Pay's a free agent. I don't know why he's on this list. He might have like a tender or something, but like Owe and Jalen Phillips, Hendrickson are all probably going to get the 3 biggest contracts there. So if you're looking at those second level guys, Chason and Boye Mafe make the most sense for us. Like Malcolm Kuntz and Joseph Osai, Arnold Ebiketie could all be other options in that range as well. And then like, I even think as a depth piece, like I remember when he got drafted out of Iowa, AJ Epinesa from the Bills. Like, I remember watching him and thinking he's just made to be a Patriot, like the way he plays. But admittedly, that was obviously in the Belichick days, and we've changed schemes since then. But he'd be someone I'd look at potentially on a, you know, with that market value of like $6.5 million a year. But yeah, there are so many solid options. I think, like I said, I think we can avoid the big names because they're just going to command too big of a contract. And if we're throwing money at Alec Pierce, I wouldn't want to do that. But I think if you can come away with one or two of these names, and maybe a draft pick as well at the position, I think that's probably the right route to go.
First round on this.
I do feel like the draft
edge.
Just not Zion Young, please. I was talking to Nick about
not Zion Young.
Zion Young is not a first round.
Is it Parker or Thomas something? I think
Mason Thomas. Yeah.
Mason
Thomas 100% I would look at in that area. But Zion Young for me is not a first round pick. He just doesn't offer you enough pass rusher to warrant being in the first round.
There's the other guy.
It's like me and Kieran were having a conversation about Messidor. You know,
I love Messidor.
Think about it, yes, he's 25. Yes, he's 25, but that's 5 years on his rookie deal. Then two franchise tags. You can let him go at 32.
Yeah.
And you've got 7 years out of him, and you haven't needed to sign him to a big deal either. But to me, that's not a bad route to take. And he will fall down the draft because of his age. And I expect him to go. Him to go behind Bain Jr., behind Bailey, probably behind Falk. I think he goes ahead of Cassius Howell based on Howell's poor combine. TJ Parker he might go before Parker, but I think he'll probably go after. And that puts him square at the end of the round. So he could well be in our sights at 31. And I am not against taking Messidor at 31 at all, especially if I'm eyeing up someone like Isaiah World in round 3 or 4.
Would he not drop to round 2?
No, I don't think Messidor will drop. He's not going to drop to the end of round 2 because that's where we're picking, remember? Unless you're going to trade out in round 1 for one of those teams who wants to trade back in at the beginning and sit at the beginning of round 2.
What about the Alabama?
I would consider that's Overton. Something else I would consider.
Overton's
going to be a mid-second rounder. I don't think he's going to be available by the end of the second round. But again, looking at the edge defenders at free agency, I'd still rather draft a edge defender than take one in free agency.
What if Kayvon Chasen comes back?
Kayvon Chasen coming back, I don't have a problem with. That's different. He's already on our roster.
Yeah, so we need to come out of this off season with 2, right? So you're looking at maybe 1 free agent and 1 draft pick of a substantial round. So if you draft 1 at 31, then you either re-sign Chason or you sign a Maffei or whatever. You only really need 2 because then Landry can be your 3. You've still got Anthony Jennings, Elijah Ponder, Braden Swinson. We just signed this random guy from Arizona who I don't think will make it through camp, but it's just 2 that you need. So we can go and get one of these free agents next week, and then you draft someone. I really like Malachi Lawrence out of UCF, Nick. I think he's someone in the back end of the second round. If he gets there, could provide a lot.
He'll get there.
He won't go that far.
But yeah, like Joshua Josephs is another one I think has got a lot of explosiveness. But yeah, ideally you want to come out of this off season, whichever way you want to do it, with at least 2 new edge rushers. And I would like Chason to stay just for the familiarity in the system. You know, he earned a new contract. He was great for us down the stretch last year, and you want to keep players like that around rather than having to bring someone else in to learn the system. And you know that he's proven and with the way you play, and Kua knows how to use him. So I would throw a nice little contract at Chase on, and then hopefully you draft someone.
If he hangs around, it gives you more excuse to show the footage against New York Giants, and he just absolutely nails that. But moving inside from edge to tackle to defensive tackle, my question is: do we keep Barmore or do we cut him? Because
or trade him.
He's got these legal issues coming up, and from what I've heard, it ain't good. He's the only player that Vrabel had to bench this year. He's the only player on the roster that got benched for his behavior. I'm sorry, I would rather see Barmore out the door and let's get some new interior defense.
So I think that I did see some a report going out. I don't know how true it is, but the Eagles are shopping Jalen Carter.
No,
and someone. It could be completely a hoax. I don't know, but they made up this thing where, Jalen Carter and AJ Brown go to us, and we send the Eagles the other way. Pop Douglas and Christian Barmore. That is not happening in a month of Sundays. No one. You're dealing with Harry Roseman, for Christ's sake. He is not a fucking stupid GM.
I mean, with Tonga going, I really don't think we shift Barmore unless a trade comes in that's reasonable.
Where is Carlos?
There's really no one else on that list. I mean, Sheldon Rankins is probably the other guy that springs to mind that I would probably have a punt on, but.
Yeah, I mean, it's a position where we're quite blessed with a decent amount of depth, right? So, all being well, Barmore, you want the news that Barmore has been, acquitted of whatever happened, and he's staying around. We've got Corey Durden, who was great, in spells last year. We drafted Josh Farmer in the 4th round. And then even Leonard Taylor towards the end of the season was getting consistent practice squad elevations and actually contributing. Like he had that blocked field goal towards the end of the year. So we've got sufficient depth. Now we need to re-sign Tonga because we don't really have, out of that group, we don't really have a natural run stuffer. And that might be something that we can find in the draft. I mean, I've not got to interior D-line yet, so Nick will know more about this than me. But I think if you don't re-sign Tonga, getting a nose tackle is a real priority. But in terms of the overall interior line depth, I don't think we're too bad. But if you lose Barmore, then it does become a bit of a need.
Kairos Tonga is around about 3.1 million.
Yeah, but he said he's already come out saying he wants to test the market.
Okay. See what happens. Let's see what happens with that. There was a defensive tackle that caught my eye. I think his name in the draft, D'Angelo Pons. I think his name was.
Cornerback.
Oh, it's corner. Sorry, my apologies. Wrong position. My bad.
Oh, I love him. I think he's actually amazing. But he's gonna go mid-second round. He's a corner.
What happens if he does drop to the back end of the second? Would you just?
He's not dropping.
No.
He's elite. He's not dropping.
No, he's not.
If anything, he's going higher. So.
I'll just have a look at
He's my number. He's my number 6, and bearing in mind my 5th guy is scheduled at 38, so he's not going far.
The problem is though, all these defensive tackles are all in their 30s. There's the next one further down. I've got to go. Is Roy Lopez at 28? It doesn't get much younger then.
So you draft one.
I think you are looking at the position.
You've got Caleb Proctor, you've got Skylar Howard. They're big guys. You want an undersized. I talked to Kieran about this. You're looking at somebody who's slightly undersized, who's a bit faster. Then you're looking at Durant or Thompson. But I'd quite happily take someone like Caleb Proctor or somebody like Skylar Howard, who you can pick up in like round 5. You know, they'll do me quite nicely. But
okay.
Yeah.
Right. One position I think is going to the linebacker that I want in the draft is Jacob Rodriguez, the linebacker out of Texas Tech. However, I don't think he's going top 5, bruv. He's going top 5. He's going top 5.
Which Styles?
What?
Sony
Styles is the linebacker. Lorenzo Styles is the safety. He'll be in the late rounds. I'd take him.
We'll get to safety in a minute. So let's go to linebacker just to see what's available. Trayvon Edmonds got released from the Bears. 10.4 million is his market value. You're looking at Logan Wilson, 7.6. Kenneth Murray from Dallas, 4.9.
There are 2 names that catch my eye on this list almost immediately. So bearing in mind, Givens is a free agent, and I think we're all in agreement that we would probably let Tavai walk. So that leaves you with Spillane, Ellis, and Mapu. So you probably need to add to that linebacker room. The 2 names that stick out to me straight away are Nakobe Dean, because this defense is built on having speed at linebacker that can go sideline to sideline. And we haven't necessarily had the greatest fits for that, but Nakobe Dean does fit us really well. And the other one is Leo Chenal from the Chiefs.
4.6.
Who plays more of a strong side linebacker, but which is more of a Tavai position. I think Chenal and Nakobe Dean are the 2 that really stick out here. I mean, I think Quay Walker's good as well. But I think he'll probably get a little bit more money, and I think he'll probably follow Jeff Hafley to the Dolphins. But yeah, they're just the 2 names. There's a few decent options on this list.
I was going to say Edmonds, but do you think he's too expensive?
Yeah, and Bobby Okereke will be the same. I mean, Quincy Williams is an excellent linebacker as well. Obviously, a little bit older. That would be quite funny to take a former Jet, and then he ends up playing on a much better team. Caden Ellis is obviously Christian Ellis's brother as well, so we can have both the brothers. There's a lot of really solid options on this list, but yeah, you know, Dean and Chenal for me would be the 2 that I would target.
Quay Walker, former linebacker for the Packers, 8.2 million. That's
Devin Bush I'd look at as well. I think he's good. Anzalone on like a short term would be solid. Matt Milano, same.
Matt Milano's injury prone. He's also getting on now.
He nearly signed for us like 5 years ago, didn't he? Before he got his last contract. Bill really wanted him.
Say Devin White. No, not Devin White. Isaiah Simmons. Isaiah Simmons from Carolina. He was at the Cardinals. He got drafted by the Cardinals, didn't he?
Yeah. He was a positionless player.
He was giant, wasn't he?
Yeah, for a while he was. Yeah, he's bounced around a little bit. But there's plenty of solid linebacker options. We don't need to go too mad on it. Like, if you're losing 2, you sign 2. But then, like, it's one of them where you could get away with signing 1 free agent and again draft a linebacker in the mid to late rounds just for the added depth, because Spillane and Ellis are going to be right up there in terms of playing time. You've got Mapu. You potentially got one of these free agents to replace Gibbons. We're not even, wouldn't even rule out Gibbons re-signing a new deal, to be honest. So yeah, you probably only need 1 and a potential draftee, depending on what happens with Tavai.
Yeah,
but an
How
upgrade.
is Devin Lloyd, like last year, 3 million? Yeah, his market value is 20 this year. How's that?
Because he's a stud.
Because he's a stud.
Yeah, he's going to get an absolute bag from someone.
Is that because he's just finished his rookie deal or something, and he's not?
I've got a little bit of PTSD with Devin Lloyd. So he was taken the year that we drafted Cole Strange, and he was my number 1 Patriots draft target in that draft. And we could have taken him, but we traded back and then ended up taking Cole Strange, and I was absolutely fuming.
Okay, Nick, you got a dash, mate.
Yeah.
Okay, bud, no worries.
Right, I'll catch you guys later.
See you later, Nick.
See you in a bit, mate.
All right. Bye.
Peace.
Right. Okay, we're only going to go through a couple of more positions. We've only got corner and safety to go to, so let's go to safety because it is needed. Market value.
Safety. I want Genesis Smith. If we can draft that guy, he's no way going to be there.
Yeah, that's in the drafting free agency. Is there anyone there worth really? Jane Hawkins,
Get Dogger back?
No, he's shit.
We need to sign fucking Jalen again. That's another thing.
Yeah,
I tell you what. If there was one player I actually was liking on the Bengals defense, even though there wasn't much to like about the Bengals defense, Geno Stone's name was mentioned on pretty much every single bloody play.
I'll take Hawkins over him.
Yeah, Hawkins is going to be an interesting one because he was obviously, like we said about Chason, for familiarity in the system and someone who played really well on our team last year. That could make a lot of sense to bring him back. Obviously, he's going to get a bit of a pay bump, but he earned it. Once again, I think the top end guys are probably going to get a bit too much. Like, I think Brisker would be excellent, but like he's going to probably get the biggest contract of all of them. I think the one name that sticks out to me is a name that's a little bit down. And you look at his age as well, being 24 currently, go out to turn 25. Nick Cross from the Colts, who Indianapolis wanted to retain him, but they didn't believe that they could afford to retain him with all their other, needs with like Daniel Jones and everything like that. And he has unexpectedly hit the market at 24, 25 with an average market value of $6 million. I would pull the trigger on Nick Cross 100%. He was excellent in that Colts secondary last year. And you could potentially get him on a much longer term deal. So that would be my number 1 target there.
Cisco as well. I thought he's been around.
Cisco's good. He's rangy, athletic.
Jags, isn't he? And then
Jets. Pull him. But there's a lot of solid names. Brian Cook as well. Yeah, Blankenship's good.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've got no problems with Jalen Hawkins re-signing at all. But if he doesn't, then I'm going after Nick Cross.
Yeah, there are a lot of names on there, which is actually really, really surprising, to be honest.
And we probably do need a little bit more depth as well, because behind the 2 that played last year, there wasn't a lot of depth behind it. You had Del Pettis and Schooler was playing on some defensive snaps. We have Richie Grant on the practice squad, so it's one of them where you probably need 2 safeties. Whether they're both in free agency or you look to draft one at some point in the draft, I think is definitely worth exploring, because we probably need a 3rd safety. Once you've established your 2 starters, and we know that Woodson's going to be one of them, you probably need to find a guy that can be your 3rd. Pettis is then your 4th, and then Schooler is that special teamer that can be your 5 if need be. So Yeah, well, interesting to see what happens with Hawkins. I'm sure they'll want to keep him around, but it depends if he, at 29 years old, if he kind of prices himself out, then I'd rather go for a younger player like Nick Cross.
Yeah. Okay. Last one. Let's go corner.
Marshall Lattimore. No.
Who? No. One name springs to mind here, and I know he was okay-ish. The Seattle guy, Woolen. Don't think he would fit into our scheme.
No.
There's really no one else that I would even try and attempt to.
I don't think it's a massive position of priority. It's more to get depth, right? Because the first three positions at corner for us are pretty well established. We know it's going to be Gonzo, it's going to be Davis, it's going to be Marcus Jones. So that you need a fourth guy. Now Alex Austin has been released, and he was mainly that guy. We've got Charles Woods as well. So you need a guy that can be your CB4. So it might be something they look at in the draft. But if you're signing a free agent, you don't really be wanting to spend an awful lot of money on a fourth corner. So it's probably someone you think that could hold up in an emergency outside. Maybe someone like Benjamin St. Just, James Pierre, like someone experienced that could come in and be, a solid number 4 corner. But I wouldn't want to waste too much money on this. If you could get someone in the draft, it would be better. But if you're throwing money at a Josh Jobe or a Woolen or Cam Taylor-Britt or someone like that, it just doesn't make a lot of business sense to do that. So, yeah, I would probably go cheap and cheerful backup or rookie to be the CB4.
I think it's going to be a rookie that we're going to take. I'm not really much bothered on the corner position, but get one in free agency. The thing is, with the draft, is that you're trying to get the next greatest thing. So we're trying to go after the next best Gonzalez or the next best Carlton Davis. We're not just going to draft a 4-string corner just to play 4-string corner.
Yeah.
But then again, players in the back end of the draft some turn out really, really good. So we'll have to see. Okay, we're going to leave that one there. One thing I want to speak on a little bit about, and even though it's not our business to discuss it, there was a trade that happened in the early hours of this morning, rather. And that was the fact that the Ravens traded for Max Crosby. And it's 2 firsts that they are giving up for him.
Yeah.
To me, that's a tad steep, but the caliber of player that you are getting is probably warranted for those 2 picks to be drafted. Someone actually asked me today, who lost this trade? I don't think neither team lost this trade. The Ravens got a very, very good player in Max Crosby. The Raiders have now got pick 14 of this year's draft, which they're probably going to take the left guard out of Penn State. I'm not going to pronounce his name. Owane, thank you. And then obviously they've got next year's first round pick, which I'm probably going to assume if the Ravens are in the postseason, they'll probably be in the 20s. So give or take.
Yeah.
There's only one real loser in this draft. And so there's only one real loser in this trade. That is Joe Burrow. Not only has he got to deal with TJ Watt twice, not only has he got to deal with Myles Garrett twice, he now has to deal with Mad Max Crosby twice. If I am his agent, I was saying to him, get me the fuck out of Cincinnati immediately. He's going to get Andrew Luck, I swear to God.
Yeah.
So on the Crosby situation, I think you're right to a certain extent with, like, there isn't really a loser. I do think the Raiders have had the better end of it, purely based on the fact that they've got 2 first-round picks, which I think is a bit steep. He's an aging player at 29 who's had a few injuries over the last few years. So I think the Raiders have got probably the absolute maximum value they could have got for him, and they've done great out of it. I think if they use those picks well, like you talk about, Awane coming in at left guard, I've seen them been linked to Linderbaum as well because they've got such an array of cap space. If you put Awane and Linderbaum on that line with Colton Miller, you've got 3/5 of your line absolutely locked down. And with Fernando Mendoza coming in and potentially a receiver as well, that offense goes to new levels.
Ashton Gentry will go up a whole lot of levels as well.
Yeah, exactly. Now the defense is still absolutely shit show. Like it's terrible. It's one of the worst in the league. So they might have to score 30 points a game to keep up, which they'd have the capability to do so because they'd be good on offense. For the Ravens, obviously, yes, they're getting an excellent, one of the best edge rushers in the NFL who, in terms of him as a character, fits the Ravens' way of playing. I just don't think it elevates them that much overall. And, you look at Baltimore overall, they did struggle to get to the quarterback last year. It was a huge deficiency for them on defense. But and they've addressed that, right? You've got Crosby coming in, but you've had to give up an awful load to get him. They don't have much of an offensive line, and everyone was pegging them to have Awane come in and play left guard alongside Ronnie Stanley. That was the most chalky pick of the teams in mock drafts. So not only do you not now have a first rounder for the next 2 years, you've still got a massive void on your offensive line. You're still lacking pass catchers, and your quarterback has struggled to win in big games, and get over the hump. You're not exactly doing much to support him with a poor line and poor surrounding talent.
Time's running out. Yeah.
So, and obviously, Derrick Henry and to an extent, Mark Andrews, even though he's aging. So I don't think this puts Baltimore closer to them being a contender at all. I think they've still got a way to go. They've treated this trade as if they're one player away from a Super Bowl run, but I genuinely don't think they are. I think they've got a lot more work to do, and they've now just handicapped themselves by making it harder to acquire younger talent in the positions they need. So, look, it could work out. Crosby's a fantastic player. Good luck to him in Baltimore. But I'm not sure this moves the needle quite the way they think. And I think the Raiders have definitely had the better end of it.
Okay. DJ, what about you?
Yeah, I think the same. I think the Raiders slightly got the upside on this trade. Crosby, like you say, he's a fantastic player, but given his injuries in the past, he's upside of what, 29 is he now?
He'll be 29 this season.
Yeah, 29 injuries. I think he's a bit of a problematic individual as well. He's probably not the best to try and get on with and stuff like that. Yeah, I think he's had some issues in the locker room and stuff like that in the past, and it was evident that he wanted to leave. I think the Raiders, and so yeah. But I don't see this making the Ravens any better. I think their window is slightly closing as well now. I think they're trying to go all in for big players, and I don't know. Now with Jim Harbaugh? Or was it?
Well, Jesse Minter is the new DC coming over from the Chargers. I think that was a good hire. They got that right, and he's going to love having Crosby on that defense. I'd expect their defense to be, improved and go back to more of a Ravens defense you would expect. But I think they've still got holes on that team, particularly on offense. You can with the offensive line is an absolute mess. If they re-sign Tyler Linderbaum, they've made a big step forward to him to keeping that. Yeah. But they don't have a left guard or a right guard. They're pretty sus at right tackle. Ronnie Stanley is also aging at left tackle, and you have one receiver that consistently does something in Zay Flowers. You don't have anything else outside of that. It's basically they run the ball or they don't score points. So yeah, I don't.
Derrick Henry's now racking up the mileage as well. So
those are likely. That was their best player, I think, last year.
Well, they got Mark Andrews still.
Yeah, but
he's aging. Lamar's getting up there at. I mean, what is he? 28, 29. He's not old by any stretch, but for a QB, but how much longer can he play with that elite athleticism that he has? And he's had durability issues himself. He's missed games in each of the last 3 or 4 seasons. He's always missed time because the way he plays as a runner, he just takes way too many hits. And he's a slender guy anyway. So like, if you're playing behind no line with no weapons, then good luck to you. You know,
but there's seen rumors that they're trying to trade. They would like to trade him or try to trade him, or I don't know if that's true or not. But there's a lot of like.
I could see him not right now, because then they wouldn't be able to have the financial capability to do it. But I do feel like, with him being a Florida boy, I do think a move to the Dolphins is on the card at some point. There was a lot of links to that in the summer, saying that they were going to trade him to Miami. I could see him wanting to go there in a couple of years.
The Dolphins are sandbagging this season. Have you seen the amount of players that are leaving?
Yeah. It won't be for a year or two, but I could see, if you get to Lamar and he's 31, 32, and the Ravens still haven't won a Super Bowl, they try and reset, go elsewhere, and Lamar goes back to Florida, his home state, plays for the Dolphins for a few years. I could see that happening. I think they'd be interested in him.
Yeah. Okay. Right. We'll leave it at there. We're going to give this one a break. That was a good show. Very, very good show, John. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you to Nick as well, as he had to dash off early. That's our free agent. Our free agent wish list, shall we say? Let us know in the comment section down below. What do you think? Who are we going to be getting in free agency? Who do you want in free agency? And if there is a trade, who would you trade for? So make sure you put your comments down in the section below. Smash the like button on the way out. Go on, spike the subscribe button. Tell all your friends. Follow us on social media platforms. Make sure you follow the podcast on Spotify and Apple. And we will be back on Tuesday. The legal tampering starts at 5 p.m. US time on Monday.
5 p.m. UK time Monday. Midday Eastern on Monday.
Okay, thanks for that. Yeah, 5 p.m. UK time. So hopefully we might see some free agent signings and trades happen at the time. But obviously the real free agency starts on Wednesday, when it's all clarified and the cap space is all sorted and so on. So we will be there on Tuesday night, breaking down what's happened to free agency so far. And if we've signed anybody, if we have, great, we'll have a good chat about it. If we don't, it might be a very short show. But for now, we're going out of here. Thank you to everyone who's been watching. Thank you everyone who's been listening. Good night. God bless. Go Patriots.